The graveyard shift at Lunar Deep Space Observatory wasn't supposed to be exciting. Commander Victoria Nash had chosen it specifically for the quiet, using the peaceful hours to work on her theories about quantum space navigation. Her small office, tucked away in the observatory's east wing, offered a perfect view of Earth hanging like a blue marble in the vast darkness of space. Tonight was different. The first hint came as a subtle fluctuation in the quantum frequency monitors, equipment she personally modified to detect anomalies in spacetime. Most of her colleagues thought it was a waste of resources, but Victoria had always believed there was more to space travel than conventional physics could explain. The fluctuation grew stronger, forming a pattern that made her heart race. This wasn't random space noise. This was a signal, encrypted in quantum frequencies she'd only theorized about in her research papers. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface, adjusting parameters and filtering out background radiation. "Control room, this is Commander Nash," she called over the comm system. "I'm picking up something unusual on the quantum bands. Can anyone else confirm?" The response came from Dr. Rashid Kumar, the night shift supervisor. "Negative, Commander. Standard frequencies are clear. Are you sure your experimental equipment isn't malfunctioning again?" Victoria ignored the subtle jab in his voice. "This is different, Rashid. I'm sending you the data now. Look at the pattern. It's perfectly structured. This has to be artificial." She heard him sigh, but knew he would look. Despite his skepticism about her theories, Rashid was a thorough scientist. The silence stretched for 2 minutes before his voice returned, all traces of doubt gone. "I see it now. This is incredible. The pattern suggests an advanced encryption method, but unlike anything in our databases. Because it's not human," Victoria said quietly. "We need to decode this message. Now." The next 3 hours were a blur of calculations and attempts at decryption. Victoria's team grew as other scientists arrived, drawn by the excitement of a potential first contact situation. But it was Victoria's understanding of quantum mathematics that finally cracked the code. The message transformed into clear text on their screens. "Emergency. Zephyrian vessel Starweaver trapped in quantum vortex. Navigation systems failed. 300 lives at risk. Need pilot capable of quantum instinct navigation. Conventional systems useless here. Please respond." "Zephyrian?" Rashid asked, voicing everyone's confusion. "An advanced spacefaring species," came a new voice. Admiral Helena Torres stood in the doorway, her presence immediately commanding attention. "We've had limited contact with them for the past year, but it's been classified. They're centuries ahead of us technologically. But," she paused, studying the message, "they've become completely dependent on their technology." Victoria felt a strange excitement building in her chest. That's why they're asking for help. Their advanced navigation systems are useless in a quantum vortex. They need someone who can fly by instinct, someone who understands space at a fundamental level. Admiral Torres fixed her with a penetrating stare, like someone who spent the last 5 years developing theories about quantum space navigation. Victoria's throat went dry. "Admiral, my theories haven't been proven. They're considered fringe science by most of the academic community. But you believe in them." "With all my heart." The Admiral nodded slowly. "The Zephyrians included coordinates. The quantum vortex is about 30 light-years from Earth. They have technology that can connect a pilot's consciousness directly to their ships, allowing for faster-than-light travel. But they've never attempted it with a human before." Victoria stood up, her decision made before the Admiral could even ask the question. "When do we leave? You understand the risks. This has never been attempted. The neural interface could kill you, even if it works, navigating a quantum vortex." The Admiral let the sentence hang. Victoria looked back at the message, thinking of the 300 lives hanging in the balance. "Admiral, my entire career, people have called my theories crazy. They said I was wasting my time studying quantum space navigation when our computers could do all the work. But I always knew there was more to it. That sometimes you need human intuition to see patterns that machines can't understand. This is my chance to prove it. The Admiral's stern expression softened slightly. I was hoping you'd say that. A Zephyrian transport ship is already on its way to pick you up. You have 2 hours to prepare. And Victoria. She waited until their eyes met. Make humanity proud. As Victoria rushed to gather her research and prepare for the mission, she couldn't help but smile. All those years of being called crazy, of pursuing theories others dismissed, they had led her to this moment. Sometimes the universe had a strange way of proving you right. The Zephyrian transport ship was unlike anything Victoria had ever seen. Its crystalline hull seemed to pulse with an inner light, and its shape defied conventional aerodynamics. As she stepped aboard, she was greeted by First Navigator Zura, a tall, ethereal being whose iridescent skin shifted colors like the northern lights. Commander Nash, Zira spoke through a translation field that surrounded them both. We have much to prepare and little time. The Starweaver's quantum shields will fail in approximately 20 Earth hours. The ship's interior was a maze of organic-looking corridors that seemed to respond to their presence, lighting up as they passed. Zira led Victoria to what appeared to be a medical bay, though it looked more like a meditation chamber. In the center stood a chair that seemed to be grown rather than built, its surface covered in delicate patterns that glowed with a soft blue light. This is the neural harmonizer, Zira explained, gesturing to the chair. It will allow your consciousness to merge with our ship's quantum matrix. But I must warn you, our previous attempts to connect non-Zephyrian minds to our technology have been unsuccessful. Victoria studied the chair, noting how the patterns seemed to shift and flow like water. What happened to the other pilots? Their minds couldn't handle the quantum information flow. They became lost in the data stream. Zira's skin darkened to a deep purple, which Victoria interpreted as concern. Your species has never experienced quantum consciousness. The risk of mental fragmentation is significant. Then we'll have to find a way to make it work, Victoria said, approaching the chair. Tell me everything I need to know. The next hour was a crash course in Zephyrian neural technology. Victoria learned that their ships weren't just machines. They were semi-conscious entities, capable of forming deep bonds with their pilots. The neural harmonizer would attempt to bridge the gap between her human consciousness and the quantum awareness of their vessels. Your mind will need to adapt quickly, Zira explained while attaching neural sensors to Victoria's temples. The quantum matrix will try to communicate in ways your brain has never experienced. Many pilots describe it as drowning in a sea of colors that don't exist. Victoria closed her eyes, recalling her years of research. In my theories about quantum space navigation, I always believed that human intuition could perceive quantum patterns subconsciously. Maybe that's what your pilots have been missing. They're too focused on understanding the data instead of feeling it. Zira paused, her skin rippling with shades of gold. Curiosity, Victoria was learning to interpret. An interesting perspective. Are you ready to begin? Victoria settled into the chair, which adjusted to cradle her body perfectly. Ready. The initial connection felt like plunging into an ocean of static electricity. Colors she couldn't name exploded behind her eyes, and her mind struggled to process sensations that had no equivalent in human experience. She heard herself gasp, her fingers gripping the chair's armrests. Breathe, Commander. Zira's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Don't try to analyze what you're experiencing. Let your mind flow with the quantum currents. Victoria forced herself to relax, remembering her own words about intuition. Instead of trying to understand the chaos of sensations, she let herself feel them, like learning to float in rough waters. Gradually, patterns emerged, not in any visual or auditory sense, but in a way that resonated with her fundamental understanding of space and time. Remarkable, she heard Zira say distantly. Her neural patterns are stabilizing. She's actually adapting to the quantum flow. Through the overwhelming stream of information, Victoria began to sense something else, a presence vast and curious, reaching out to her mind. The ship's quantum consciousness. Instead of trying to communicate with words or images, she projected her feelings toward it, her determination to help, her lifetime of studying the stars, her belief in the connection between human intuition and quantum reality. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The ship's consciousness embraced her mind, sharing its own understanding of space, not as empty vacuum, but as a living tapestry of quantum possibilities. Victoria experienced how Zephyrian ships traveled through this tapestry, weaving between the threads of reality itself. "The neural bridge is holding," Zyra announced, her voice filled with barely contained excitement. "Commander Nash, can you hear me?" "Yes," Victoria managed, though speaking felt strange, like trying to remember how to walk while swimming. "The ship, it's showing me things, teaching me. It's beautiful. Can you handle more? We need to test your ability to process navigational data." Victoria nodded, and immediately new information flooded her awareness. Star maps unlike anything humans had created appeared in her mind, showing space not as three-dimensional coordinates, but as interconnected patterns of quantum probability. She intuitively understood how Zephyrian ships could traverse vast distances by sliding between these patterns. "This is what I've been trying to explain in my research," she said excitedly. "Space isn't just empty distance. It's alive with possibilities. Your ships don't just travel through it, they dance with it." The neural connection surged stronger as the ship's consciousness responded to her understanding. Together, they began to explore the principles of quantum navigation, human intuition merging with alien technology in ways neither species had imagined possible. But as Victoria delved deeper into this new awareness, a warning pulsed through the quantum link. An image of the Starweaver, trapped in what looked like a knot in the fabric of space-time itself. The quantum vortex. Even through the filtered connection of the training system, she could sense how dangerous it was, a place where the usual rules of quantum navigation broke down completely. "We need to hurry," she said, reluctantly allowing Zyra to begin disconnecting the neural interface. "The vortex. It's worse than you realized, isn't it?" Zyra's skin had turned a pale, silvery color that Victoria hadn't seen before. "Yes, the Starweaver's messages have stopped coming. We're running out of time." The rescue vessel Quantum Dancer emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the vortex zone. Through her neural connection, Victoria felt the ship's anxiety, an emotion she never would have believed a vessel could feel before today. The quantum vortex loomed before them, a twisted mass of space-time that defied normal physics. "By the eternal stars," Zyra whispered, her skin shifting to a deep indigo of dread. The vortex had grown since their last scans, its chaotic energy patterns spreading like cosmic cancer. The Starweaver was barely visible at its heart, its once gleaming hull now dulled by the strain of fighting the vortex's pull. Victoria accessed the quantum sensors through her neural link, and her breath caught in her throat. The patterns here were unlike anything the ship had shown her during training. The usual flowing lines of quantum probability were shattered, creating a maze of deadly energy currents that changed unpredictably. "Standard approach vectors are impossible," reported Second Navigator Thorne, his crystalline fingers dancing over the control surfaces. "The vortex is disrupting all known navigation patterns." Victoria closed her eyes, focusing on the quantum awareness flowing through her mind. "That's because you're still thinking in patterns," she said softly. "Look at it differently. The vortex isn't breaking your navigation rules. It's dancing to its own music." Through their shared consciousness, she felt the quantum dancer's confusion. The ship had centuries of programmed responses to space anomalies, but none of them applied here. Victoria smiled, sending a wave of reassurance through their connection. "Let me show you something." She reached out with her mind, not trying to analyze the vortex, but simply feeling its rhythm. In her years of research, she had developed theories about space having its own kind of music, patterns that couldn't be measured by instruments but could be sensed by human intuition. Now, connected to the quantum consciousness of an advanced alien vessel, she could finally put those theories to the test. "Commander Nash," Zyra's voice held a note of warning. "What are you doing?" "Teaching your ship to improvise," Victoria replied. Through their neural link, she shared memories of Earth's oceans, how surfers learned to read and ride waves that seemed chaotic at first glance. She showed the ship memories of jazz musicians improvising, creating beauty from spontaneous collaboration. The quantum dancer's consciousness brightened with understanding. Instead of trying to impose order on the vortex of chaos, they began to feel its natural flow. Victoria guided them closer, using the violent energy currents like a jazz musician using unexpected notes to create something new. "Impossible," Thorne breathed, watching as their ship wove through fluctuations that should have torn them apart. "The navigational computers can't even track what you're doing." "That's the point," Victoria said through gritted teeth, maintaining her focus on their quantum dance. "Stop trying to calculate and start feeling the flow." They penetrated deeper into the vortex, each movement a careful improvisation based on split-second adjustments to the changing energy patterns. Victoria felt sweat beading on her forehead as she maintained the delicate balance between the ship's quantum technology and her human instincts. Finally, they came within communication range of the Starweaver. The ship hung suspended in a relatively stable pocket within the chaos, but Victoria could sense through their quantum link that its shields were failing. They had minutes, not hours. "Starweaver, this is Commander Nash on the Quantum Dancer. We're here to get you out." The response came weakly through the quantum static. "Commander, our systems are nearly dead. We've lost half our quantum shields, and our navigation computer is completely offline. Even if you reach us, we can't follow you out." Victoria shared a look with Zyra, whose skin had taken on a determined golden hue. "We didn't come all this way to give up now," Victoria said. "Zyra, can we establish a quantum bridge between the ships?" "A bridge?" Zyra's skin flickered with surprise. In these conditions, the energy requirements would be enormous, and the risk would be less than letting 300 people die. Victoria finished. She turned her attention back to the Starweaver. "Listen carefully. We're going to establish a quantum link between our ships. Your crew needs to shut down all remaining automated systems. Where computers have failed, we're going to try something that only living minds can do." Through their neural connection, Victoria felt the quantum dancer's excitement at her plan. The ship had learned to trust her unconventional approaches, had experienced firsthand how human intuition could navigate paths that pure logic couldn't foresee. "Beginning quantum bridge establishment," Zyra announced, though her skin betrayed her nervousness with flickers of pale green. "Commander Nash, are you sure about this? No one has ever attempted to quantum link two ships in these conditions. The energy feedback alone could overwhelm your human consciousness." Victoria watched the swirling chaos of the vortex through both normal and quantum senses. "Sometimes the biggest risks lead to the greatest breakthroughs," she said. "Besides, I made a promise to save these people, and I intend to keep it. Let's show the universe what happens when human intuition and Zephyrian technology really dance together." As the quantum bridge began to form between the ships, Victoria prepared herself for the hardest performance of her life. They would have one chance to guide both ships through the vortex's chaos, one opportunity to prove that the combination of human instinct and alien technology could accomplish what neither could do alone. The quantum bridge flared into existence like a ribbon of pure energy connecting the two ships. Through her neural link, Victoria felt the strain immediately. Maintaining the connection in the vortex's chaos was like trying to hold hands with someone while riding different roller coasters. "Bridge stability at 60% and falling," Thorne reported, his crystalline features reflecting the strobing energies around them. "Commander, the feedback is approaching dangerous levels." Victoria barely heard him. Her consciousness was stretched between both ships now, feeling the Starweaver's systems as clearly as the quantum dancer's. The damaged vessel's fear and pain flooded through her mind, nearly overwhelming her human sensibilities. But underneath it all, she sensed something else, hope, as the Star Weaver realized help had finally arrived. "Zara," Victoria managed through gritted teeth, "I need you to help me stabilize the connection. Think of it like teaching someone to dance. We need to guide them, show them the steps." The first navigator's skin rippled with understanding. She placed her hands on the quantum interface, adding her centuries of experience to Victoria's intuitive grasp of the vortex patterns. Together, they began to strengthen the bridge, weaving it through the chaos like threading a needle in a hurricane. "Star Weaver crew, listen carefully," Victoria broadcast through the quantum link. "I know your training tells you to trust your computers, but right now I need you to trust me instead. Shut down all automated systems, every calculation, every correction. They're only making things worse." "But without the systems, how will we?" the Star Weaver's captain began. "Feel it," Victoria interrupted. "The vortex isn't your enemy. It's energy, it's movement, it's life. Stop fighting it and start dancing with it." Through the neural link, she projected the sensation of surfing, of feeling the wave's power and working with it instead of against it. She felt the Star Weaver's consciousness struggling to understand, centuries of technological dependence fighting against this new way of thinking. Suddenly, the vortex pulsed, sending a shockwave of quantum energy through both ships. Victoria screamed as the feedback crashed through her mind like lightning. Warning signals blared from every system. "Neural overload," Thorne shouted. "Human consciousness cannot sustain this level of quantum integration. We need to disconnect her now." "No." Victoria's voice was strained but determined. "We're too close. If we break the bridge now, the Star Weaver is done for." She pushed through the pain, focusing on the quantum dance she had begun. The vortex's chaotic energies swirled around them, but now she could see, feel, understand its patterns in a way that transcended both human science and Zephyrian technology. "Star Weaver," she called through the link, "follow our lead. Don't think about the math. Don't worry about the calculations. Just feel the flow and mirror our movements." To everyone's amazement, it began to work. As the Star Weaver's crews surrendered their reliance on automated systems, they started to sense what Victoria had been trying to teach them. The massive ship began to move in concert with the quantum dancer, both vessels weaving through the vortex's currents like paired figure skaters. But the strain on Victoria's mind was reaching critical levels. Blood trickled from her nose as she fought to maintain the neural connection between the ships. Through increasingly blurry vision, she saw Zira's skin cycling through colors of alarm. "Commander Nash," Zira's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Your neural patterns are degrading. If we don't disconnect soon, the damage could be permanent." Victoria managed a weak smile. Sometimes you have to risk everything to save everything." Through their shared consciousness, she felt the quantum dancer's fierce pride and determination matching her own. The vortex raged around them, its quantum energies becoming even more volatile as they approached what appeared to be its center. The Star Weaver's remaining shields were failing, and the quantum bridge flickered dangerously with each new surge of energy. "We need a way out," Thorne announced, his voice tight with tension. "The calculated escape vectors." "Forget the calculations," Victoria interrupted, even as another wave of pain crashed through her mind. "There's only one way through this. We need to dive straight into the heart of the vortex." Even Zira's composed demeanor cracked at this suggestion. "That's suicide. The quantum forces at the core would tear both ships apart." But Victoria had seen something through their combined quantum awareness, a pattern within the chaos, a harmony in the heart of discord. "Trust me," she whispered, as much to the ships as to their crews. "Sometimes the only way out is through." As consciousness began to fade at the edges of her vision, Victoria poured everything she had into the quantum link. Her decades of research, her intuitive understanding of space's hidden rhythms, her human determination to save lives no matter the cost. She shared it all with both ships, teaching them to see the universe through her eyes. The quantum dancer and the star weaver, guided by this unique fusion of human instinct and alien technology, turned together to face the vortex's core. 300 lives, 2 advanced ships, and 1 human pilot's mind hung in the balance as they prepared for a maneuver that would either save them all or destroy them completely. The heart of the quantum vortex wasn't chaos as the Zephyrians had assumed, it was pure possibility. As Victoria guided both ships toward its core, her consciousness stretched between them like a bridge across realities. She finally understood what her years of research had been pointing toward. The universe wasn't a collection of fixed points and predetermined paths. It was an endless dance of potential, waiting for someone brave enough to lead. Commander Nash, Zyra's voice pierced through her quantum-merged awareness. Your neural patterns are becoming quantum-entangled with both ships. If we proceed, we may not be able to separate you safely. Through the neural link, Victoria felt the quantum dancer's concern for her safety mixing with the Star Weaver's desperate hope. Blood now flowed freely from her nose, and dark spots danced at the edges of her vision. But she could also see something no one else could. A pattern within the vortex's core, a rhythm that called to her human intuition. Sometimes, she managed through gritted teeth, you have to become part of the dance to lead it. She sent a surge of determination through the quantum bridge, strengthening their connection despite the pain it caused her. Everyone, brace for my signal. What we're about to do has never been attempted. Instead of fighting against the vortex's pull, Victoria surrendered to it. But on her terms, through their shared consciousness, she showed both ships how to spin into the quantum currents, using the tremendous forces to their advantage. It was like turning a deadly riptide into a launching pad. Now, she commanded. Both ships dove toward the vortex's heart, their quantum fields harmonizing under Victoria's guidance. The pressure on her mind became excruciating as she held the neural bridge stable, but she refused to let go. Through tears of pain, she saw Zyra's skin glowing with unprecedented patterns of color, fear and hope and wonder all mixed together. Quantum coherence reaching critical levels. Thorne reported, his crystalline features reflecting the swirling energies around them. The ship's fields are merging. Victoria had theorized this might happen, though she'd never dared to put it in her research papers. At the quantum level, separation was an illusion. Everything was connected, and in the heart of the vortex, those connections became visible, tangible, usable. The vortex's energy peaked, threatening to tear both ships apart. But at that exact moment, Victoria executed the final step of her desperate plan. Instead of trying to maintain the ships as separate entities, she let their quantum fields merge completely. For a fraction of a second, the quantum dancer and the Star Weaver existed as a single quantum state, a possibility made real through human intuition and Zephyrian technology. The resulting energy release was tremendous. The vortex itself seemed to hesitate, its chaotic patterns disrupted by this unprecedented event. Victoria seized that moment of uncertainty, using the combined power of both ships to punch through space-time itself. They emerged from the vortex's heart like a quantum supernova, riding a wave of possibility made real. Behind them, the vortex collapsed in on itself, its energy spent. Both ships streaked through normal space, their quantum fields gradually separating as Victoria gently unraveled their merged state. Status report, Zyra called out, her skin still flickering with unprecedented colors. Star Weaver crew all accounted for, came the reply through the quantum link. Shields at minimal levels but holding. We made it. Victoria wanted to share in their jubilation, but consciousness was slipping away from her. The neural load of managing 2 ships through a quantum merger had taken its toll. As her awareness began to fade, she felt the quantum dancer's consciousness wrap protectively around her mind, trying to ease her burden. Stay with us, Commander. Zyra's voice seemed to come from very far away. Medical team standing by. Just hold on. Victoria woke 3 days later in the Zephyrian medical bay. The first thing she saw was Zyra's concerned face, her skin shifting through gentle shades of blue relief. "Welcome back, Commander Nash. You've been the subject of much discussion while you recovered." Slowly, carefully, Victoria sat up. She could still feel the echo of the quantum connection in her mind, like remembering a beautiful piece of music. "The crew, both ships, safe, thanks to you." Zyra's skin brightened. "But more than that, you've changed everything. Our scientists are still studying the data from the quantum merger, the implications for space travel, for our understanding of reality itself." She paused, her skin shifting to a color Victoria had never seen before. "We've received a formal request from the Saphirian High Council. They want to establish a permanent exchange program between our peoples, focusing on the integration of human intuition with our technology." Victoria smiled, remembering how it felt to dance through quantum space with two ships as her partners. "Tell them I know just where to start. But first," she closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. To her delight, she felt a familiar consciousness respond. The quantum dancer, its presence in her thoughts now a permanent reminder of their shared journey. "First," she continued, opening her eyes, "I need to write a new research paper. I think it's time to update our understanding of what's possible when humans and aliens work together." As she looked out the medical bay window at the stars beyond, Victoria Nash, the human who had danced with quantum reality and lived to tell about it, felt a surge of excitement. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was the beginning of a new era of exploration, where human intuition and alien technology would work together to unlock the deepest mysteries of space. The universe, she now knew, was more than just a collection of mathematical constants and physical laws. It was a dance floor of infinite possibility, waiting for those brave enough to learn its rhythms and join in its eternal song.